Okay, good evening, Rabbi. We're going to do tonight, V'ezrat Hashem, the Parashat Shavua, as usual. Tuesday night is the Parashat Shavua. We're going to be talking about Vai'Eshev. So right away, this the first word in the Parasha already gives away the whole idea. What does it mean, Vai'Eshev? He dwelled, right? What does that mean? That Yaakov Avinu wanted to dwell, the Chazal say. He came back from the house of Lavan. Now he finished off with Esav, right? He got rid of Esav, he gave him the boot. Lavan is behind him already. Now, the good life, right? The promised land.
Okay. How come he didn't go?
He back to the promised land, right?
How come he didn't go see his mother and father?
That's where he went.
So he's with his
came to Hebron, right? Came to Hebron, yeah, that's the idea. So he comes, but before he comes there's all kinds of episodes that occur, right? Along the way as well. So what happens is that he wants to dwell, come home sweet home, the promised land, the holy land, right? Everything is good, parents, family, grandchildren, everything is nice, beautiful. What can it be better, right? Back home sweet home.
He saw his father.
But Baruch Hu says, excuse me, not so fast, buddy.
He saw his parents.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
He saw his parents.
But not so fast, buddy. What do you think? What, you came home now, you're going to have a good time and enjoy yourself. Home sweet home, right? No place like home. No, it's not going to be like that. It's not going to be like that. Remember what you had with your brother? You had an argument with him. Olam hazeh, olam haba. Who's going to get what? He says, Olam hazeh, that's not for you. So what do you think now? You're going to have a peaceful life and nice and sweet? And no, you know what they say in the Pirkei Avot, right? The Chazal. They said, Olam hazeh ke prosdor. What does that mean? This world is like a corridor. It's not a final destination. You think you got your final destination, right? You're taking a flight. It's a stopover flight. You're stopping over here, you're stopping over there. The final destination is at the end. Oh, so you think this is your final destination? Now you got home sweet home. No. Olam hazeh, it's a corridor. What does that mean? You're here to build up your zechuyot, to have more zechuyot. No pain, no gain. That's the idea, right? So what do you think? Now you're going to live a peaceful life, tranquil? No, it doesn't going to be like that. So right away, comes on him all the problems again, right? With Yosef now starts up. What happens with Yosef? So right away it says, right, that Eret Toledot Yaakov Yosef. Eret Toledot Yaakov Yosef. Why does it put them together like that? Yaakov Yosef. Yaakov Yosef. So Chazal say the reason is because Yaakov and Yosef were all the same, basically, right? What does that mean? They looked exactly alike. Looked like a twin brother, right? You look just like your father. Oh my God, you're just like spitting image. Oh, you look just like him, right? What does that mean? There's a special thing over here. What does that mean? It's not, when you look like Yaakov, it's not like you look like somebody else's father. Why? Because the Chazal say Yaakov was the most beautiful guy in the world, right? Nobody was like him. Super handsome, right? Nobody can touch him. Nobody can come to his handsomeness. They say that his handsomeness is so great that his image is engraven on the Kisei Kavod, the throne of glory of God. That image of his face. Can you imagine how great this image is? So Yaakov Avinu was the epitome of handsome. Right? He was the epitome of handsome. But nevertheless, even though so Yosef HaTzadik was also handsome just like him. Same thing, right? Graven image of his father, spitting image. So that's number one, right? Number two also, Yosef HaTzadik, when you look like your father, by the way, what happens? You know what happens, right? You are the favorite son, right? Your father loves you the most. You just look just like him. He sees you, right? Oh, you're just like me, This is my continuation, right? This is my legacy, continuing with my son over here. So there's already love, building up in the heart. He looks just like you. So this is one thing. But then the Chazal tells us another thing also, which is what? That Yosef HaTzadik also had another common denominator with his father, which was what? Ben Zekunim Hulo. What does that mean? Ben Zekunim. According to the simple meaning, what does that mean? He was Ben Zekunim. He was the son of his old age, right? When he was an old man already. So now he has a young son. So that one is like the most beloved one. That little tyke, that little tyke, right? The baby family. Oh, he sits on your lap, you play with him, you give him some candy, you give him some toys. It's a love story, whatever, right? That's kind of this kind of thing. but according to the deeper meaning, what does that mean? Ben Zekunim. The word Zaken in Hebrew means the wise, right? He was a wise son. What does that mean? All the sons were wise, right? As the Chazal say, all the 12 tribes, they were all Gdolim. What does that mean? They were all Gdolim in Torah. They were all Gdolim in Chokhmah. They were all Giborim also, mighty men. All of them mighty men. Big warriors. Also, they were all handsome. All of them super, super handsome. Not one of them looks like, shady. No, every one of them is like striking appearance. So then what did the Yosef HaTzadik have over them that he calls him Ben Zekunim, the wise son? They were all wise. So they say that the edge of Yosef HaTzadik was what? That Yaakov Avinu saw that he had also Chokhmah to learn the secrets as well. You know what I mean? That higher level of wisdom. Kabbalah, Sod, right? He was also adept to do that as well. He caught everything right away. Everything right away. Whatever you taught him, he right away absorbed it, kept it, right? His acumen was very, very big. His memory was excellent. So whatever he taught him, 100% remembered everything. So Yaakov Avinu, right? What do rabbis love the most? They love wisdom the most, Okay, your father, your son looks like you, that's very nice, but if he's a dope, doesn't really help you much. He looks like you, but no brains, right? Very, very simple, dopey guy, right? Dopey. No, we don't want that. But now he looks like you, and also he's wise like you are as well. So now he's really your graven image, right? Your spitting image. That's already something else. For the rabbi, this is the ultimate son, a wise son. He can sit there and do pilpulim to all kinds of extrapolation and chokhmah, talk with them back and forth. They enjoy that stuff. Back and forth. That we did today over there in the class, right? We talked about this halachot, and we went back and forth with these ideas. This one says like this one says like that, shalom, and right, it says like this, and Jimmy says like that. Everyone has his own ideas. That's the most fun that there is, There's no more fun like that. Talking divrei Torah like this, going back and forth. So this is he was able to do that with his son, with Yosef. He was with him. The other ones were already in the field, working in the field. So he was with him all day, day like that. So he was enjoying being with his son. He loved him very much because of all these reasons. Also, there's another reason, which is that he was the son of Rachel. He loved Rachel the most, and right from there comes also loving their children the most as well.
Is Benjamin born yet or not yet? At this time,
he was born. Yeah.
Okay. Rachel is dead.
Rachel was already gone. Yeah, that's it. She was going to the.
Benjamin is born. Okay.
By the way, the truth is that what you just asked about in the beginning, right? Not exactly precisely what I said. What does that mean? Yitzchak was alive, but Rivka was also dead already. Understand? At this time, Rivka went to her world, right? And Rachel also died. She was also dead. And now in the Chumash we don't see this, but says the Zohar Kadosh that Leah also died. Leah was also dead. So basically, Yaakov was left only with Bilhah and Zilpah. That's all he had. 2 other wives, right? That's all he had.
Okay.
And this is the reason why he moved in with Bilhah, because Rachel was gone, Leah was gone. This is the idea. Okay, fine. So what happens is that because of this love that he has for his son, he sees that he's the wisest son in terms of the depths of the Torah, the secrets of the Torah, Kabbalah, Zohar Kadosh, Kitvei Arizal. He knows all these things back and forth. So what happens is that because that makes him the leader of the family in a sense, right? What does that mean? He gives him a special coat, special beged, right? This beged was like made out of like fine virgin wool, a special, nice jacket, right? Exactly, right. Nice tuxedo, for those special occasions, right? But the truth is, this was not really a tuxedo. This was a badge of leadership. In other words, the one who was wearing this, they knew that he was like the leader of the brothers. On the other hand, right, the brothers didn't really make Yosef their leader. They considered them to be like a little boy, a little kid, a little tyke. Who are you to be our leader? Who are you to be our boss? Who are you to be our king? Just because your father appointed you, they appointed Yehuda to be the king. The brothers, you understand? They said, listen, for us, Yehuda is the king, but the father appoints Yosef, right? There's a little bit of a rivalry going on here. You know what I mean? Yehuda on one side, Yosef on the other side. A little bit strange, right? But that's the way it was. So what happens is that Yosef, how does he really get into trouble? Besides this issue that we talked about, that he made him the leader, which aroused their jealousy. You know what I mean? This little kid, a little tyke, a little teenager, making him the leader of the family. What is this? What is this? What are we, children, that we should bow down to this guy? So what happens is that Yosef HaTzadik now, he has also his dreams, tells him the dreams, and these dreams, it's clear that these dreams are talking about, they're going to become pretty much his slaves, bowing down to him, subjugating themselves to him. They didn't realize what he was talking about. They didn't realize what's going to be in Mitzrayim and Egypt. They just saw it as like an immediate thing, you know what I mean? Like they saw him as a threat, basically. Somebody's coming to usurp our authority, usurp our position. But to make things even worse, so what does Yosef do? He comes and tells his father Lashon Hara about them, It says in the Rashi, it brings over here the words of Chazal. Not only spoke Lashon Hara about them, like once in a while, but anything you could find about them, to say, he came and said, all the way he went with that, whatever I can find with them, looking at all these sort of things, people are, some people are like, they spy you out. They're looking, with the microphone, with microscopic, lens, they're looking to see, what is he doing over here? Why are you so nosy? Like, you put your nose everywhere. You want to see how I'm doing this and how I'm doing that. This is what he did, to his brothers, you understand? He treated them like, like he was spying on them. Was sent by the FBI, Comey, one of these things, right? Those guys, right? This is the way they felt. This guy's a spy, man. Somebody, they planted a spy on us, over here. This is no good, They felt threatened by that. So right away they tried to, to see what they could do against this guy. You know what I mean? But then when he started to say Lashon Hara, what are the 3 points that he said Lashon Hara about? Then what are the 3 things that he said? Number 1, he tells his father, they call the sons of Bilhah and Zilpah, they call them slaves. Like they're not like equal brothers. So they're like, they want to put them down. Keep them down, keep them subjugated. That's the way they treat them. Number 1. Right. Number 2, he also comes and says, listen, they also eat Ever Min HaChai. Right. This is considered to be a very big sin, by the way. Even a limb of an animal which is living, it wasn't slaughtered. This is a big sin. That's what he said. Tells Yaakov, they're eating Ever Min HaChai, living limb of an animal. Number 3 comes and tells them, they're also, you know what it is with these guys, your sons? You think they're big tzaddikim? No, really true. They're checking out girls. Going out to 108, Queens Boulevard, checking out the girls over there, looking at the chicks. Spotting them out, talking to them, rapping with them a little bit, this kind of thing. That's what he tells them. Your sons, what do you think they are? Do you think they're tzaddikim? They're very suspicious people, these people, eating, it's like telling today, somebody telling you today, I saw your son at the discotheque, nightclub in Manhattan. I saw him at the McDonald's, having hamburgers, cheeseburgers, That's what he's telling them. You know what I mean? This is exactly what he's saying. Can you imagine somebody doing that today? Coming to the father. You think your father is a yeshiva student? Your son is a yeshiva student? I saw him at McDonald's eating a cheeseburger. I saw him hanging around with girls in discotheques, nightclubs. Okay, what do you think your son is? What do you think he is? He also speaks a lot, downgrades people. Speaks Lashon Hara about other people. So Yaakov Avinu, when he heard all these things, wow, So what happened was that this whole machloket that came up between them regarding these Lashon Hara that they spoke, there's a whole deep understanding over here regarding this thing. What really occurred? Why did he do this? And why did they understand it the wrong way? And they understood it the wrong way. There was a misunderstanding between them. So the Chazal says, they say in the Midrash that there was a basic machloket between Yosef and the brothers. In halakha, I'm talking about, right? Certain halakha, there was a machloket. What is this halakha? We talked about this before one time, by the way. We mentioned it regarding something else, but really it also applies here. What does that mean? That one of them, Yosef HaTzadik, he held that nowadays, right, those times that they were alive, the sons of Yaakov, they were considered to be goyim. Now, they didn't have a status of a Jew yet. The status of a Jew came on Har Sinai. The brothers, on the other hand, no. They considered themselves to be Jews already. This was the machloket between them. So this is the root of the problem over here about the Lashon Hara. They spoke about them. What does that mean? He tells them like this. He tells his father, they eat Ever Min HaChai. They eat the living limb of an animal, right? So we talked about this also before a year ago or more, regarding the halacha of Ever Minachai, that there's also a prohibition for a Jew to do Ever Minachai. There's also a prohibition for a Goy. They also have this prohibition. But their prohibition is not the same as ours. What does that mean? There's different severity there. So what does that mean? In this case, by the way, which is the only case in the Torah you'll find this, our din is more lenient than theirs. They're more severe in this case. It's a little bit strange, right? Why should it be like that? We should be more severe, right? Because we have more mitzvot. Hashem is more strict with us than He is with them. So then why should their halacha should be more lenient than ours? Very more stringent than ours.
Okay. First, explain to me what's the difference.
I'll explain to you. Explain to you. It goes like this, right? That ever minachai, what does that mean? Living. What does that mean? That you cut off a limb of an animal, you eat it before you slaughter the animal. You didn't slaughter the animal, right? You have to first kill the animal, slaughter it, right? So then it's like this. By the Jew, there's a leniency over here. What does that mean? That even if once you do the slaughter in a kosher way, what does that mean? You have to do two simanim, right? The windpipe and the food pipe. If you slaughter those two pipes, even though the animal is still alive, it's still like kicking and throwing, you know?
Right. It's considered to be
Pang, right? Okay. So you're allowed to eat it at that time, according to the Jewish law, Jewish halacha. Why is that? Because even though it's a little bit like kicking around like that, once you slaughter, it's considered to be dead, basically. You know what I mean? It's going to die for sure. There's no question. It's not going to live. There's no way for it to live. And also, according to halacha, the slaughter, because we do it in a kosher way, the proper way. So therefore, it has a very strong power to kill the animal. To render it dead. When it comes to the goy, they don't do ritual slaughter like we do. No, they just do something. They cut it open. They open up the stomach. Whatever, or they cut it. They use a stun gun today. All kinds of things today they use, right? Stun guns and all kinds of things. Or they do like a little, little gun. Whatever they do some kind of other types of slaughter.
Different kinds.
Right. They don't do ritual slaughter like we do. So what's the practical difference over here? The practical difference is like this: since they don't do ritual slaughter, they cannot, because of this reason, they cannot eat the animal until it's really dead. Right, exactly, because they haven't really slaughtered it, according to halakha. You know what I mean? So therefore, the rule is that we're allowed to eat it before it's dead, and they have to wait till it's dead. This is a very interesting idea, right? So now, our situation is like this. Our situation is that Yosef HaTzadik considers them to be goyim. Therefore, they have to wait till it's dead. Right? So he saw them, they were not waiting until it's dead. And this is the reason why he came to the father, tells them, they're eating Ever Minachai. You know why? Because he considers them to be goyim.
And himself?
Also himself.
So everybody.
Right, exactly. The whole clan, right? The whole clan over there.
Himself.
Exactly. So therefore he says, you see, they're eating Ever Minachai. But they consider themselves to be Jews, so therefore they eat before it dies. This was the basis of the machloket that they had over here. Understand? So what does that mean? Yosef HaTzadik should have looked into it deeper. You know what I mean? He was a kid, 17-year-old boy, not really, mentally yet mature. Very, very, grown up yet. You know how it is when you were 17. You remember, how we were. When we were that age, we were a little bit nuts. A little bit nutty. We're not so organized. We're not so, we're not like that. So because of that, Yosef HaTzadik, without really looking into what they were doing and why and this and that, they didn't look into that. Just, I see something, as bad as I can say, I say. This is the wrong attitude. You know what I mean? A person, especially when you're dealing with your brothers, a fellow Jew, so you have to, you have to judge them favorably. So why are you judging your brothers like in an unfavorable way? This was something wrong there, you know what I'm saying? So the truth is that because of that, Hashem Kadosh Baruch Hu punished him severely for these sins that he did. Lashon Hara, they spoke about them. It wasn't really justified. Also, the other things as well. He said, right, that they're calling them slaves. They weren't really calling them slaves. What they were calling them as the sons of the maidservants. You know what I mean? Because they were maidservants in the sense. They had a lower status than the other two wives. So because of that, Laban gave them, by the way, when Laban gave them these two daughters, he meant them to be maidservants, basically, not equal wives. This was the idea, So therefore, they were using like this euphemism, the sons of the bnei shvachot, the sons of the maidservants. They didn't really mean that they were slaves. They knew they were not slaves, but he was looking at it in again, right, in a negative way. Do you look at the half empty or half full? That's the idea. They were looking. He was looking always half empty. Everything on the negative side. Also regarding that they were rapping with the girls and checking out the chicks. You know what I mean? This was also they were just doing business. You know what I mean? Doing some commerce. Selling and buying with women. So what? You're not allowed to talk with them when you sell and buy. So he thought, they're checking out the girls. He didn't really look into it what they were doing. You understand? Again, judging them disfavorably instead of judging them favorably. This is against our religion. The Judaism is not like that. It doesn't work like that, right? So therefore, right? Yosef HaTzadik was punished for all these three things that he did, right? Since he said that they called him slaves, he was sold as a slave. Can you imagine? It's very severe. He was sold as a slave because he told them like that. They called him slaves. What about Eber Min HaChai, right? That they were living limb. So they say that because of that, his brothers, right? What did they do? Once they sold him to Mitzrayim, they shechted a goat in order to get the blood and put it on his coat, right? So over there they did shchita kosher. So the Kodesh Baruch Hu showed Yosef, you see, your brothers shecht kosher, and you tell them, you tell your father that they don't shecht kosher. So he was also punished because of that. Understand? Number 3, because he said that checking out the girls in the street, 108, Queens Boulevard, over here and there. So then the wife of Potiphar came after him to seduce him to sin. So everything he did, he got right on his head, right back. That's what happens. Kodesh Baruch Hu punishes people midah keneged midah. Measure for measure. Just like you did, that's what you're going to get. You brought it upon yourself. You have nobody to blame but yourself. This is the idea, So this is what happened. So he was punished very severely for what he did to his brothers. On the other hand, right? Look at the other side of the coin. Because they sold him also, they were also punished very severely. The truth is, the Chazal say that when they sold Yosef, they were liable to death for that. They were supposed to die for that. This is not a joke, This is one of the 10 commandments, right? Do not steal. You stole your brother, and you sold him. This is lo tignov. This is one of the 10 commandments. You go with 10 commandments, you're liable to death. So therefore, right, they really should have died. So what's the reason why they didn't die? So say the Chazal, the only thing was because of their zechut of their father, zechut avot, The zechut avot was what saved them. The zechut of their father. Otherwise, they should have been goners, all of them. And this is the reason why they had to wait many, many generations to get paid for that later on. What happened was that during the Roman persecution, they came back and they were killed. As right, the Chazal teach us about these things, right? You know what I'm talking about. The 10 martyrs. Why they have to wait 2,000 years to be killed? Because the zechut of their father was protecting them. You see right from there how great is zechut avot, right? The zechut of your father is very great. If your father was a tzaddik, you get protection from that. They say there's only one thing which is better than zechut avot. You know what it is? Your own zechut. Your own zechut is better, because you're directly involved with that. From your father you inherited something, okay, that's good. But your own zechut is even better. That's the idea, right? That's only one thing which is better. There's also another interesting thing in Chazal. You know what they say, right? Chazal. They say that when a person has zechut avot, his father was a big tzaddik like this, Yaakov Avinu, this is like a big tzaddik, So they say the person is rewarded with 3 things because of that. A person who's his son. 3 things he gets because his father was a tzaddik. Number 1 is wealth. He becomes wealthy because his father was a tzaddik. The Gaon of Vilna, he writes about this also. He says, that the main blessing of wealth, who really gets it? The son of the tzaddik. So if a person who's fortunate enough to be a son of a tzaddik, or even a grandson sometimes, it still comes through. He gets a lot of reward for that. Right place, right time, as they say, right? So then, why does he have the zechut to be like that? What's the reason why? What zechut did he have to come into that place? Because his former gilgul was good, his former lifetime. He did some good things. So therefore, they brought him to a good place. And this is the reason why he gets the reward for like that. So number 1, he gets wealth. Because he was son of a tzaddik. Number 2, he also becomes very mighty, a very strong person. Person who's like physically, like a powerhouse. There are some people, who are like especially strong. They're like, you can't you can't even fathom how strong they are. They can like take 2 people, one they're like this, and juggle them. Like this, There are people who can do that.
I believe you.
There are, So that's number 2. Number 3, also looks. They say becomes very handsome. This is also another from Zchut Avot. The person becomes very handsome as well. They bring him, with striking looks. And this is the reason why all the brothers were all of them very handsome. So you see, right, all these things because of Zchut Avot. A person is a tzaddik, his sons get all these 3 things. Unbelievable, right? Wow, it's a good deal. Like say, even your zchut is even better. So you can imagine what that must be, right? That's the idea. What's the example of that, right? If you wanted to know, Rabbi Akiva, he didn't have Zchut Avot. His father was a ger. His father was a convert. He was a simple Jew also. He wasn't a chacham, nothing. Just a simple Jew.
His father was a convert?
Yeah, Yosef. Yeah. No, his father was Yosef. Akiva ben Yosef, right? That's what they call him. Okay. Yosef, his father, was a convert, was a ger. So Rabbi Akiva, he was a regular guy. He was not from an illustrious family, just a regular dude, whatever. But nevertheless, because he sat and learned Torah for 24 years, what does it say in the Gemara about him? 6 ways he became wealthy. All miraculous ways. He didn't have to do nothing. Not even to buy lottery tickets, He didn't have to go to the store, candy store. Nothing, right? That's it. What did he do? How did he become wealthy? It says in the Gemara over there 6 things that happened to him. I'll mention to you a couple of things, right? All miraculous. Number 1, he inherited the wealth of his father-in-law. His father-in-law was a big tycoon. Right? Kalba Sabua. That was his name, right?
Yeah.
So when he died, he gave him all his money. Got everything, right? Inherited the whole thing. The whole fortune. Number 2, Turnus Rufus, right? When Turnus Rufus, what happened was he was also very wealthy. He was a Roman governor. Big Rasha, Didi Rasha. So what happened was he married his wife. After he died, his wife converted to Judaism, and he married her. So he got all the wealth of Turnus Rufus, right? Another fortune, right? In other words, you got 10 billion over here, 10 billion over here. Right? Also, you're becoming already a big guy, right? You're like almost like Bloomberg, right? Like that, right? Almost like Bloomberg. So now, also a few other things happened. Number 1, there was a ship that was being wrecked right in the sea, and there was a big fortune over there, big treasure, So he happened to be walking on the beach over there. Once it got wrecked, it came in and he got all the money, right? Everything he took the whole thing. Again, right? All these things were miraculous. He didn't have to do nothing with it. And this is exactly what it says in the Mishlei, right? We always talk about this. Several times we mentioned it. That's why when we got to talk about the lottery, I always mention this, right? It says in the Mishlei, Perek Yud, 10th, Birkat Hashem Meita Ashir. What really makes a person wealthy? Blessing of Hashem. That's all you need. You don't need nothing else. Yeah. Right? That's the second part of the pasuk. What does that mean? That it doesn't bring any sadness with it. What does that mean? You don't have to do nothing. Just sit there and think it.
Good.
When Hashem blesses you, it comes without any effort whatsoever.
Absolutely.
So, by the way, just to discuss this issue, the Midrash talks about this at length, right? That there's a difference between wealth that you acquired with your own effort. In other words, you went and did business, bought, sell, hustling, hustling around. Did some trading, went to the stock market, hedge funds, blah, blah, blah. You made some money, became a millionaire. This is one way to become wealthy. The other way is just to sit there and Hashem gives it to you, right?
Fill out the lottery.
Don't need it.
No, you don't
need any intermediaries. You don't need intermediaries. Hashem can bless you without that. You understand? You don't need it. Believe me when I tell you.
You have to be in it to win it.
Right? That's for the goy, right? But for the Jews, that's not like that. So now, what do I tell you this? Because it says in the Midrash, not which wealth is superior. Let's say I got 10 million over here. I got 10 million over here. Which one is better? It's the same amount of money. So it says in Midrash, the one from Hashem is much better. You know why? Because that's going to stay with you. This may disappear. You may spend it, you're going to get rid of it. They come to you, taxes, this and that. Uncle Sam, Uncle this, Uncle Joe, Uncle Shmo, right? Uncle Esav will come to you. But when it comes to Birkat Hashem Itashir, this stays forever. Once you get this, it stays all your life.
But isn't it
doesn't go away.
Wonderful. But isn't it also said, I've heard it, that when somebody blesses you, there might be God's angel, and he's going to say Amen also. That's the same as blessings.
It says, right, that tzaddik goes there, HaKadosh Baruch Hu mekayem. A tzaddik decrees something, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu upholds it. So that's why it's a mitzvah, right? The truth is, it's a big segula to go to a tzaddik to be blessed by a tzaddik. This is the reason why. You know what I mean?
So you're going to bless us
So
again?
you know what happened, right? That I always. But you know what happened, right? That there's a story like this also in the Gemara. Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai tells his son Rabbi Elazar, They both were chachamim. You know what I mean? They were big chachamim, the biggest. You know, Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon, top of the notch, right? Nevertheless, Rabbi Shimon tells Rabbi Elazar, my son, tells him, go and get blessings from these rabbis. You know, Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yehuda, all the rabbis who were in that generation. Go get blessings from them. You know why? Because he says when you get blessed from a tzaddik, everything will come true. You know, this is the idea. So even Rabbi Shimon, you know, and it's also his son Rabbi Elazar, both of them are giant rabbis. He also told him to get blessing from the rabbis.
I understand. So,
so you see from there how important it is. You know, this is the idea.
So the theory that somebody, a plain guy, will bless you and God's angel is there, is going to say Amen. That's false. That's theory.
There's also another thing which is brought down in the Chazal. They say al tiyeh birkat hediot kal beinecha. What does that mean? Even the blessing of a simple person shouldn't be a light in your eyes.
Yeah.
What does that mean? That also can bring something.
Yeah.
It's not as powerful as a tzaddik, but nevertheless it can have some effect. No question about it.
You still didn't answer my question.
Especially when there's a reason why he blesses you. You know what I mean? In other words, he feels gratitude. You did something for him. You know what I mean? The way it works is like this. You know, there's a give and take over here sometimes. You know what I mean? When you do something for somebody, he feels gratitude to you. So he blesses you with a full heart. This is a real blessing, you know? When he blesses you without his heart, you know, just...
Yeah,
that's not so good.
Words.
That's right, exactly. Not so good, you know what I mean?
It's understood.
But nevertheless, they say, whatever tzaddik says, it always comes true.
You know the Georgian word that they say, Elo Anabi. That means God's angel.
Eliyahu Navi.
Okay. Somebody blesses you, and there's an Eliyahu Hanavi. So he says Amen. Is that a myth? This theory?
Somebody's
blessing you. Johnny is blessing you.
So there
is a possibility that the angel is there, and he says Amen. Is that a myth? The scenario?
It's very possible. It's very possible
So it's not
something like that happens. Yeah, it's very possible. Very possible. I cannot tell you for sure because I don't see sources for this. You know, but the truth is that the fact that they're telling you that it shouldn't be light in your eyes. A blessing of even a simple person, it has effectuation.
Okay, good.
You know,
Next.
so it seems to be supported. You know,
So
somewhat.
always bless people. Basically.
Blessing is very good. Yeah, it's a very good thing.
And accept it.
That's the idea. So getting back to what we said, right? That here the brothers were also very severely punished because of what they did. They sold Yosef. What does that mean? That they also misjudged this whole thing, right? There was a misjudgment. They thought he was out to get them, you know, to obliterate them from the family, to get them disassociated with the family, excommunicated from the family. That wasn't his intention. His intention was just to improve their behavior, you know, to make them into good boys. You know what I mean? You know, you have like we have one of these boys, you know, in the family. He's like, you know, always speaking, you know, he did this, he's clearer, you know. He doesn't mean really bad. He just wants, you know, everything to be correct. He wants everything to be corrected. He doesn't hate his brother. That's not the reason why he squeals at him. He wants him to be, you know, to straighten himself out. So that's the idea. Hopefully that's the way it is. Okay. You're right. It's true. You know that. Nobody hates his brother. You know, usually that's not the way. That's not the way it is, right? So that's the way it is. So therefore, right, the fact that they misconstrued his intentions as well. This was also, and because of that, this distorted their judgment, and this is why they judged them to be killed, you know, and to be sold. This was a mistake. It wasn't the proper judgment. They should have also judged them favorably, but they did not. Right? So what do we see from there? That they say the Zohar Kadosh says the brothers hated Yosef, you know, sinat chinam. That was sinat chinam over here. Senseless hatred. This is the reason why we're in Galut, right? And they also had to go to Galut because of this. Because they had sinat chinam, they went to Galut. They went to Mitzrayim, everybody, right? They also had to get out in the end. None of them stayed in Eretz Israel. Everybody had to leave. Why? Because of sinat chinam. So we see from there, sinat chinam is very, very severe. Always brings Galut.
Thank you.
This is what the Zohar Kadosh says. Zohar Kadosh says that the brothers hated Yosef, and it also says, by the way, it says in the pasuk itself, right? It says, you don't need Zohar for that. You don't need Zohar for that. It says in the pasuk they hated him. But what the Zohar says, it was sinat chinam. It was senseless hatred. It wasn't really justified. This is what the Zohar adds that we don't find in the pasuk, right? That's the idea. Because in the pasuk you may think, oh, you know, it was justified. It was not justified. It was a mistake. So what do we see from it? It was a mistake from both sides. Miscommunication, bad judgment, poor judgment, errors, right? Not confirming things, not right authenticating things. You know, conjecture. hearsay, this kind of, nonsense.
Assumption, false
Right, exactly.
assumption.
When you assume, you make a, right? That's the idea. Don't assume nothing. Make sure, clarify everything. Right? That's the idea. Especially when you're talking about your brothers, your fellow Jews. How do you have the chutzpah to say something like that? Very good. So what happened was, right, that who was really blamed for this the most are the brothers, Yehuda. Why is that? Because he was the king of their brothers. What does that mean? He was really the only one who had the power to stop them. Like put his foot down and say, hey, buck stops here. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do it.
Okay.
Nobody was going to challenge him.
When did Reuben lose his firstborn rights? The king.
This was later on a little bit, right? The truth is that what happened was that Yaakov, when he blessed them, he took it away from during the blessing a little bit later.
Later. So how come Yehuda is the king now? He's the firstborn.
You know why? It's a good question, by the way, when you're asking. The answer is because they saw Yehuda had the character of the king,
So
and that's exactly what Yaakov blessed, right? Yehuda. It says, your brothers are always going to admit that you're the king. It's always going to be like an admission like that. Yehuda had that character, so right away they spotted him, they said, this guy, this is the leader, right?
Okay.
What it is. And Reuben also agreed to that. Understand? Because, you know how it is, right? There's a dominant brother sometimes, he's not the oldest one, but he's the, tough guy, he's tough internally and externally, both ways, right? Physically and spiritually and mentally and psychologically, every way. So he's the king, that's the idea. So, since Yehuda was the king, he could have objected. They would have listened to him. So what happened was he did object somewhat. What does that mean? He said, let's not kill him, let's just sell him. He did object. But he didn't go all the way. He could have gone all the way also. They would have listened to that too. What does that mean? He could have told the brothers, this time, let's sell him off the hook this time, We'll get a freebie this time. He's our brother, come on, give me a break. We're all brothers, come on, give me a break. He didn't go that far. He didn't go that far. He saved them from dying, but he didn't save them altogether. You understand? So therefore, who was blamed? They blamed him, by the way, upstairs and downstairs. What does that mean? In Shamayim, they also blamed him. And also the brothers also blamed him downstairs. The brothers said, hey, after they sold him, they regretted it. They said, listen, you should have stopped us, That's what we made you king for. We gave you a job, you got to do your job. If you're the leader, you got to have the guts to be a leader, and make the big decisions. Put your foot down. So what happened? Because of that, they punished him from Shamayim. They punished him also downstairs as well. The brothers punished him. Can you imagine? Even though they themselves weren't on it, they also participated. But they punished him. What did they do? They said, number one, we're bringing you down from the Malchut, right? You're not the king anymore, right? Get out. Come down from your throne, get off your high horse, and take a hike. Number one. Number two, also they excommunicated him. Can you imagine? They put him in Nidui. They said, hey, look what you caused to us. You destroyed our family like that. You should have been the leader. You should have taken the initiative. You should have been the one to put your foot. No. They discommunicated. What happened was that because they excommunicated him, he had to leave the family. He had to go. He had to leave. That's why he left the family. He went somewhere else. He found a wife somewhere, a different location. He couldn't stay there anymore. He was disowned, man.
After Yosef was sold.
They disowned him. That's it, Can you imagine? They were tough, these guys, These guys are not joking. So what happens is that they disowned him. This is from what he got from downstairs. What did he get from upstairs? Even worse, right? Number one, his two sons died, right? Erve and Onan. This is the reason why they died, they say. Even though they had their own sins, but still, right? This is what caused it. What caused his two sons to die? Because he sold Yosef. Right? Kadosh Baruch Hu told him, just like you took away his son, I take away your sons. Number one. Number two, also, his wife died as well. Right? His wife died, his sons died. He lost three members of his family. Can you imagine? Shem Yirachem, lo aleinu. That's why they say, right? Better not to be a king, better not to be a leader. Don't try to be a leader because you got blamed for everything. In the end, you're going to take the rap for everything. Be a regular citizen, regular Joe, average Joe. Why do you have to go up there, right, and be all the bullets are going to be coming on you.
Sure.
Yes. They're all going to get you everything. That's the idea. So therefore, right, this is the reason why they said Chazal, don't try to be a leader. But anyway, they made him the leader. So look how he paid, right? He had to pay very dearly for his for his indifference, his past indifference. That's the idea. Yehuda got punished very, very, very severely. So what happens now? Yehuda goes, right, and starts a new life. Exile. Exiled leader, banished leader. So goes, and what does he do? He finds some businessman over there somewhere. Starts to do business with him. He marries his daughter. The businessman's daughter. So he has 2 sons. They die, as we said, right? Third one survives. And then what happens is, right, that now he's trying to marry off his. Before they died, he tried to marry them off, right? So who did he give them to? To Tamar. Right? Tamar was the daughter of Shem, who was a big tzaddik himself, right? He was the forefather of all his family, right? Shem was the forefather of this whole clan, and also other clans as well, right? He was a big father. So what happened was he takes Tamar, daughter of Shem, and gives him to Er to marry. Er dies, Onan dies. So now who's left? Shelah, right? Shelah is the only one left. So therefore he tells Tamar, her, listen, this guy's too young to marry you, right? We can't do a levirate marriage, ivum. So wait till he grows up, and then we'll give you, no problem. He has to grow up. He's a kid. He's a little kid. So she's waiting, she's waiting there, sitting. So what does she do? She waits for a few years, very patient. Why was she so patient regarding this, right? Why didn't she just go and start a new life? Because she wanted to marry into this family, She wanted to have children from them. She had a very great desire, the tzaddikim like this, mighty people, tzaddikim, very, very great people. So because of that, she had a tremendous urge to be in that family. So what happened? She agreed to wait. She waited for a few years, but when he grew up, he sees that Yehuda doesn't want to give. Right? He pulled a trick on her, He tricked her. Yeah, I'll give you next year. Wait till next year, Shana Haba Yerushalayim. We'll be in Yerushalayim next year. next year. Nothing happened, right? So what does she decide to do? She pulls a trick on him, right? Disguises herself to get him to do it. You understand? He's the one who's going to do it. So this is what happened. This is why Yehuda fell into this whole this whole trap over there. That's the idea. So what happens is that she disguises herself as a prostitute, right? As a zonah. Very strange, by the way, this whole episode. Very, very strange, because it says, right, that he found her on the crossroads somewhere, and he thinks that she's a zonah. First of all, what? He didn't see who she was. This is a daughter of him. They must have spent a lot of Shabbos together. You know what I mean? So what? What? All of a sudden you don't know who she is. You think she's a prostitute? What kind of thing is this? Very strange. So therefore, right, to explain this, the Chazal go extrapolate the pasuk over there. What does that mean? The pasuk says that the reason why he thought that she was a zonah is because she covered her face. She had like a veil, like the Arabs do. They veil their face. So now this is very strange. The Gemara asks this question. Because she puts a veil on her face, you think she's a prostitute? This is a modest woman. Why would you think she's a prostitute? Prostitute opens her face, not a clothes. He opens everything, right? The clothes, the face. You see everything with a prostitute. That's the whole idea. So what? Because she covers herself, she's a prostitute? What kind of thing is this? So therefore, the Chazal learn over here nice darash. They say, right, that when it says that she covered her face, it doesn't mean that now she covered her face when she was in the street.
She was always covered.
That means that when she used to go over to Yehuda's house for Shabbat, then she was covering her face. So therefore, what? Yehuda never saw what she really looked like. You know what I mean? And this is the reason why. Now he saw her. He didn't know what she looked like. She was always veiled. Like a veiled woman. He's like, that's the idea. So this is the reason why he thought she was a prostitute. You understand? So he goes with her. So the obvious question is, how can you go, right, the tzaddik like this, Yehuda, go with a prostitute? So it says the Rambam that in those days it was allowed to do that. What does that mean? Before Matan Torah, right? They were allowed to go with a woman, like a one-night stand, basically, to give her some money, to be with her one night, right? And that's it, right? As long as she's not married, as long as she's a single girl, she's not a married lady, you're allowed to do that in those days until Matan Torah. After Matan Torah became forbidden. So therefore, what Yehuda did was permitted. That's how the Rambam explains. So
you have the keys to lock the door?
So this is the idea. So Yehuda, what he did was legal. He was kosher. But still, nevertheless, right? He wasn't
ethical. It's not moral.
Not because it wasn't ethical or moral. It was in those times. It was. But for a person on this level, they say it was a little bit, not
ethical or
right, not so much, you know what I mean?
Got it.
What does that mean? A big tzaddik like this, and their family was keeping the whole Torah as it is, you know what I mean? They were keeping the whole Torah. So now all of a sudden, you want to downgrade yourself a little bit, but nevertheless, what he did was kosher. Maybe not glad kosher, right? It wasn't glad kosher, let's put it this way, right? Okay, whatever.
Okay, forget.
That's the idea.
And who became the leader while Yehuda was out?
That's a good question. It doesn't talk about that, by the way.
Okay,
Probably they had no leader. Each man for himself.
Democracy.
Exactly. That's probably what it was. Okay, so now what happens is that Yehuda, they come and tell her, your daughter-in-law is pregnant. We see she has a stomach. After 3 months, it's recognizable. So Yehuda doesn't know that he was with her. She came back to her house. He never knew that this happened. He thought she was a prostitute. Mm-hmm. So what does he do? He judges her. He was at that time he was a chief judge also. Yehuda. He was a leader of the family. You know what I mean? So what did he do? He put Bet Din together and judges her to burning. Can you imagine? Right. Come out and have her burned. Why is that? Because she cheated. Right? Instead of waiting for my son to marry her, she went in the street with some man. Mm-hmm. So the truth is, right, that this also requires some thinking, analysis. What happened over here? Because the truth is that she wasn't married to any of her sons now at this point. They both died. And for this one, she was waiting, but this is not marriage. There is some kind of a bond there, by the way. It's called yibum, zikat yibum. When you have somebody who's supposed to marry you, like in the future, like you're bonded to that person somewhat, but it's not bond of marriage. So if a person goes and cheats, even though she's not allowed to do that, by the way, until this is decided what they're going to do, right? Either release her or marry her. She's not allowed to go with another man at this point. But the point is that she's not liable to death. It's not like marriage, So then, why did you judge her to be killed? Very strange, right? And also, why did you judge her to be burnt? Like this killing, Dafka. We're not stoning. Different kind of, why this death? So the Chazal, they say, the commentators, they say that the reason why he judged her to death is because he wanted to make like a point over here, like to scare people, to think, what does that mean? To show them that, you don't do things like this. This is like immoral. You know what I mean? Even though she was not liable to death. And the truth is that there is a basis for this in halakha. What does it say in the Choshen Mishpat, the Shulchan Aruch? It says that even though nowadays we don't have a permission to kill anybody, we have no death penalty today, because you need to have 23 judges. Bet din of 23. We don't have that today. We have only 3 judges. So since we don't have a bet din like this today, and we don't have smichai, that we're not ordained for that, so therefore we're not allowed to judge anybody to death. But there is one exception. It says in Shulchan Aruch that if the rabbis see a certain problem going on, society problem, some kind of an issue which is destroying the fabric of the society, corrupting morally the society, some kind of like a very bad precedent is going on. So they're allowed to kill somebody in order to make an example, of that person. This is allowed to do. If the rabbis see that this is fitting to do, why is that? In order to save the community from this kind of behavior, promiscuous behavior like that. Yeah. So this is exactly how he judged her. He judged her like this. Not knowing that he actually was guilty himself. He was the one who made her pregnant. I mean, you see the irony over here, right? A very ironic kind of situation. But this is the way it came out, right? So what happened? In the end, she gets him to admit that he was the one who did it, right? He didn't realize that. Now he realizes. So what does he say? She says, "Satkami meni." What does that mean? She's more righteous than me. What she did is better than what I did. Again, you see over here, right, that his behavior was not so 100% kosher over here. I mean, a little bit, right, a little bit shady, right? Exactly. Let's put it this way. So he admitted, right, that she was the one who was right and he was wrong, and therefore he absolved her, from the death and everything. Okay, very good. This is, by the way, one of the reasons why Yehuda was made the king. Right? The 2 reasons that we see later on come from this parsha. One is because he absolved Tamar from death. What does that mean? He admitted that he was wrong. It takes a guts, to admit, to embarrass yourself in public like that, make a scandal, It's all over the news, CNN, Fox, oh yeah, he admitted that he was wrong, He admitted that he sinned. So, because a person who can do that, to bring himself down like that, he's the king, A person who can humble himself like that. Otherwise, if he's just a phony baloney, always saying, I'm right, I never made any mistakes, Like Jim Comey, these guys, people, I never did anything wrong, yeah, you didn't do nothing wrong, no, nothing. You're 100% kosher. A person like that cannot be a leader because he's a phony baloney. He's a fake, So therefore, this is one of the reasons why Yehuda was made the king, because of this episode. Also, the other episode, as we said, is because he didn't kill Yosef. At least he got him off the hook from killing. So because of these two reasons, this is why he was made the king, right? This is the idea. So you see right over here, the character of Yehuda comes out, right? Shines out. The humility of Yehuda, able to humble himself. This is the idea, right? So this is the reason why Yehuda became the king. So this is very, very interesting, right? This whole idea. Okay, so let's do a little bit Mishlei. I'm going to use my trick on the camera now, as I told you before. My camera trick over here. Okay. So it says in the Mishlei something very interesting. That Megurat Rasha hi tavoeno v'ta'avat tzadikim iten. Right? So it says that the fear of the Rasha will come on him. Whatever he's afraid of, that something will happen, like I'm afraid that something may happen, some eventuality, and because of it, he tries to defend himself. That's exactly what will happen to him, because he's a Rasha. So we see a couple of examples of this in the Bible. Number one is Paro, right? What did Paro say to the people, to the Egyptians? He said, you know what? Let's deal with the Jews. Let's deal with them. Why? Because if they become stronger, they may in the end, right, escape from here and and leave us, like that, right, empty-handed. That's exactly what happened. Whatever he was afraid of, that's exactly what happened to him. That's number one, right? There's also another example. That when they made the Tower of Babel, the tower, right, the tower. So what did they say? Their thing was, lest we become scattered, let's make a big tower to bring ourselves a name, so we can stay in one area. So exactly what they were afraid of, to be scattered, that's exactly what happened to them. HaKadosh Baruch Hu scattered them in the end. So that's what happens to the Rasha. You understand? The Rasha, whatever he fears, that's what exactly comes on him. Right? But the Tava of the Tzaddik, but whatever the Tzaddik wants, his desires, the Shem Shamayim, for mitzvah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives him that in the end. Why is that? Because he wants the Shem Shamayim for the sake of God. So therefore he gets it. That's the idea, right? Very good. Another interesting pasuk in the Mishlei, Irat Adonai tosif yamim, right? And it says, Ushnot Reshaim Tiktzorna. So what does that mean? It means that when a person is God-fearing, it increases his life, prolongs his longevity. Where do we see that? In the Torah we find this, right? Several times. Number one, it says, right, Kaved Tavicha ve'Imecha. If you honor your parents, your life will be prolonged. That's what it says, right? A person who honors his parents, the Torah tells you, your life will be prolonged. You'll have a length of days. Another example is that they say that a person who goes to minyan, right, early, comes like one of the first 10 to be in the minyan, it also prolongs his days. The truth is, in general, when a person comes to minyan on a daily basis, he's makpid about that. Tick tock, tick 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 tick, always comes to minyan. They say it prolongs his life also. It gives him longevity. Another example is what? What also gives you longevity? They say that if you what was the other thing that I wanted to mention? Okay, if I think about it, I'll tell you. But anyway, right? I want to do also one more over here. Now, this is what happens. This is what happens when a person does mitzvot, right? So the tzaddik, his days are prolonged. Why? Because he does all these mitzvot like this. They prolong his days. They give him longevity. But what happens to a person who's a sinner? His days are shortened, right? Exactly. That's just the opposite. Okay. So what does that mean? That a person comes to this world, he's supposed to have a certain lifespan. Everything is predetermined, but he can change that with his deeds as well a little bit. To prolong his life, to shorten his life. So where do we find that the life of the Rasha is shortened? It says right in the pasuk, "Anshet damim lo yichatzu mehem." What does that mean? That the people who are bloodthirsty, shed blood, and the ones who are scammers, cheaters, they won't even reach half their lifespan. What does that mean? Let's say if he was supposed to live 120, he won't even reach 60. Right? Why is that? Because he shed blood, he murdered somebody, right? Or he was a big scammer, was thief, fraud, perpetuated fraud in people. Okay, he stole a lot of money from people, from here, from there. So everybody's angry at him, Everybody's got a gripe with this guy, You stole from me, yeah, where's my money? So because of that, they shorten his life because of that, because he's a fraud. So it's exactly the opposite, right? What do we see from there? That a person who behaves like this, murder, fraud, lives like a criminal, his life, they shorten his days because of that. Not only that, he doesn't even live out half his lifespan. They say that there were several people like that who were punished like this, that they died very young because of that, right? One of them was Bilam, right? Because he was, the ultimate fraudulent person, right? The fraud, Mr. Fraud. He was also a killer. He wanted to kill people as well. He killed people with his eyes. So that's one thing, right? Also, another thing is, also another person they say, right, that talking about Achitofel, who was in time of the David HaMelech, and Doeg Adomi, they also died very young, these two. Why is that? Because they were the killers, fraudulent people and killers. And because of that, they died very young, So we see from there that a person who's a sinner, his days are shortened. When a person does mitzvot, especially certain mitzvot, which are, they have the power to prolong a person's life, they prolong his life. That's the idea, right? Very good. Let's do one more, we'll stop. So it says another one like this. Ba'oz latom derech Adonai umchita lefo'al le'aven. What does that mean? That Kadosh Baruch Hu, for the people who act straight in their life, they go straight, they don't cheat, they don't do fraud. So Kadosh Baruch Hu protects them and defends them, He's right on their side, he's got their back. They get protection from Hashem because he's straight. But the people who are crooked, Kadosh Baruch Hu dafka just the opposite. He breaks them, He brings them down. He causes them all kinds of problems. You see how it is, by the way. Some people they get very sick, go to the hospital, this kind of. Sometimes it happens because of their, their lifestyle. Very fraudulent, very, very sinful, perpetrating fraud, stealing from people, all kinds of things like this. This causes them harm, also. This is another thing. So, what do we see from here, right? All these things, we see one common denominator from all these psukim. That a person, is rewarded for being straight and good. It prolongs his life, gives him good health, right? It gives him a protection from Hashem. For a person who's a crook, fraud, this, murder, the person like that can have his life shortened and not even live out half his life alone, right? So Kadosh Baruch Hu should give us length of days, length and wealth and health and happiness. Amen. In our families, Amen. In our parnasah, in our business, in our Torah study, especially Hashem, in our performance of the mitzvot. Amen ve'amen. Chazak ve'ematz. Baruch tiyeh tevarach.
Are we over here?